Discovered an amazing truth on Christmas Day. My granddaughter was freezing while DIL enjoyed the show in the warm living room. Mary shuffled about her kitchen, the scent of cinnamon dancing through the air, but her heart was not in the holiday spirit. Instead, it clenched tightly in her chest as she glanced out the window. There, in the powdery white yard, her precious granddaughter Lily was gleefully tumbling through the snow. Her small figure, bundled in a pink coat, made snow angels. Yet, as Mary watched, she noticed Lily's cheeks transforming from rosy pink to a concerning shade of blue. Panic tugged at Mary's insides, igniting the protective instincts that had defined her years as a nurse. Didn't her son Tom realize the cold, too, could be a threat? Mary turned her gaze back into the warmth of her living room, where laughter and chatter filled the air. There was Tom, animatedly discussing his recent work project, and next to him sat Rebecca, his wife, her glamorous presence framing the room like an extravagant ornament that overshadowed the deeper, essential essence of family. The way she flaunted her designer attire made Mary uneasy. Rebecca was more interested in impressing Aunt Carol with her culinary skills than looking out for Lily. Mary felt the sharp contrast boil within her, the warmth of the holiday and the cold truth that an important bond was freezing over. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As the gingerbread cookies cooled on the counters, a simmering tension gripped Mary. Rebecca's laughter cut through the room like glass. Was her son really so captivated by his wife's constructed persona that he could overlook their daughter's simple joy outside? This was not the life Mary had built for her family, a life where connection bore more weight than status. She wrestled with her instinct to intervene, torn between nurturing her granddaughter and confronting the woman who threatened to unravel years of devotion. When Mary finally steeled herself to approach the door, her heart raced. What if she pushed too hard? Would she damage the remaining threads that held them together? But each moment Lily spent outside alone fueled Mary's determination. Confronting Rebecca was not about criticism. It was a plea for clarity, for the family values that she had devoted her life to upholding. The anxiety settled in her throat. What if Rebecca dismissed her, brimming with more defensive snark than understanding? Stepping onto the porch, Mary summoned her courage. There stood her granddaughter, vibrant despite the cold, but vulnerable. And in the distance, the warm cocoon of the living room felt like a world apart. With every chilling breath she took, a transformative urgency began clawing at her. This could be the moment where they rekindled the true essence she'd grown up with. But as Mary opened her mouth to raise her concerns about Lily, she could already sense the frostiness building. Perhaps the holiday wouldn't be filled with warmth after all. And within that freeze lay the sobering question, could the true spirit of Christmas break through the icy barriers standing between them? As Mary crossed the threshold into the biting December cold, each step felt like an act of rebellion against the comfort of the living room. She could hear the muffled laughter and festive conversations behind her, enticing in their warmth, but suffocating in their superficiality. She drew a deep breath, allowing the crisp air to fill her lungs as she focused on Lily's shivering figure. "Lily," Mary called, her voice slicing through the snowy silence. The little girl turned, her blue lips parting in delight. She had no idea the danger lurking in the embrace of the cold, but Mary's instincts screamed at her to protect. She moved closer, each step an affirmation of her resolve. As she reached her granddaughter, the snow crunched under her boots. The sight of Lily's joyful expression momentarily soothed Mary's anxious heart. But beneath the excitement of childhood innocence lay a deeper current, a worry that had festered over the years. Mary knelt in front of Lily, gently brushing snowflakes off her jacket. "Sweetheart, it's really cold out here. We need to get you inside." "Just a little longer, Grandma. I'm making the biggest snow angel," Lily protested, her eyes shining with determination. Mary's heart melted at the sight, yet she felt a dark cloud hanging over the joy of the moment. How much longer could she stand by as the forces of status and appearance threatened Lily's well-being? "Please, let's go warm up with some hot cocoa. I'll help you decorate it with marshmallows." The promise seemed to sway the girl's resolve, but just then, Mary sensed movement from behind. Rebecca stepped out, her perfect hair glistening under the winter sun like a crown jewel. "What are you doing out here, Lily? You'll catch a cold." Her tone held that typical mixture of dismissal and condescension, like she was addressing a child who didn't understand boundaries. Mary's anger flared at the approach of this woman, whose concept of parenting revolved around appearances rather than genuine care. "She's freezing, Rebecca. How could you just let her stay out here?" The words slipped out before Mary could temper her frustration. Rebecca's smile faltered. "It's a few minutes in the snow. Kids need to learn to enjoy winter. Besides, I was busy with my baking." The edge in Mary's voice surprised even her. "Baking can wait. Our children need us more than they need our baked goods." For a heartbeat, they locked eyes, and Mary could see the wariness in Rebecca's gaze. She realized this confrontation was no simple disagreement. It was a clash of values grounded in her lifelong dedication to caring versus Rebecca's self-absorbed perspective. Tom appeared at the door, drawn by the tension outside. His eyes darted between Mary and Rebecca, puzzled. "What's going on?" Mary turned to him, her voice steadier now. "I'm asking Rebecca to pay attention to our granddaughter." The plea in her tone carried the weight of their family history, filled with moments of nurturing she feared was becoming lost. Tom sighed, his forehead knitted with concern. "Mom, I know you care about Lily, but going after Rebecca won't fix anything. We need to find a way to talk about this constructively." Mary's resolve wavered for a moment. Could she really change anything? But deep down, a flicker of determination ignited within her. Perhaps this was not just about Lily. She could carve out a new path for herself and her family, a path where she became the voice for the connection she desperately sought to reclaim. "Then let's talk," she managed, her voice softening as the three of them stood framed against a backdrop of white, the embers of change flickering in her heart. As they moved indoors, the warmth surrounded them like an embrace. Yet Mary knew the conversation ahead would not be comfortable. A suffocating facade had clouded their family, and now the moment of truth arrived. Could she confront the layers of pretense that had overshadowed their connection? With every heartbeat, she prepared herself for the clash ahead. Would she find the courage to demand what she truly valued, or would the weight of her fears pull her back into the shadows? In facing these challenges, could she ultimately discover a deeper truth about herself and the family she longed to protect? As Mary stepped into the living room, the warmth enveloped her, yet it only highlighted the chilling contrast of the confrontation she had just experienced. The radiance of the festive decorations, sparkling lights, and cheerful ornaments seemed to mock the turmoil brewing within her heart. She inhaled slowly, willing herself to remain calm as Tom and Rebecca settled across from her, an invisible barrier separating their differing views. "What are we really saying to Lily?" Mary began, directing her gaze toward Tom first. "We need her to feel that her voice matters, not just in front of us, but to herself." Tom shifted uneasily, rubbing the back of his neck. "I understand, Mom, but you have to realize that this isn't just about Lily. It's about how we communicate as a family. We can't attack Rebecca. That will only isolate her." That word, isolate, struck a nerve. Mary felt the sword edge of quiet judgment lurking beneath Tom's concern. She began to envision practical steps they could take as a family, regular dialogues, perhaps even setting aside time to create new traditions grounded in emotional authenticity. Yet beneath that hopeful determination lurked a lingering doubt. Was she prepared to follow through on this vision? And what if Rebecca faltered again, returning to her old patterns? As clarity seeped into Mary's mind, she knew their next steps would require even bolder actions. As the warmth of the room settled back into a comfortable familiarity, an unexpected ripple of anxiety coursed through her. Could she hold everyone accountable while staying true to her values? Mary's heart thudded in her chest as she realized that the conversation had only just begun, leaving substantial ground to cover in their journey toward true connection. With a new sense of purpose, she leaned forward. "Let's brainstorm ways to reinforce our commitment. This is only the start, not the end." But as determination surged within her, an unsettling thought bloomed in the back of her mind. Could maintaining this new commitment challenge everything she thought she understood about her family? The moment hung in the air, tingling with unresolved tension and possibility. A choice stood before her, pregnant with risk. What if this time she dared to be truly heard? Would she break the cycle? Would she dare to embrace this unknown path? Mary's resolve simmered beneath the surface as the echo of her last words fluttered in the air. This wasn't merely about Lily. It was about unearthing the layers that had formed between them, contorting their family ties into something unrecognizable. Yet, as her heart thrummed with newfound purpose, an unsettling reality washed over her. Was she truly ready to navigate the uncharted territories of their dynamic? Tom broke the silence, leaning in. "So, what do we actually do next? What if we try a family meeting, but with a twist? Instead of just talking, we could also share feelings through a small writing exercise. Each of us writes something, maybe a letter to Lily that expresses our hopes for her." Mary absorbed Tom's suggestion. The simplicity of writing seemed strikingly approachable, a more personal way to connect and perhaps reveal truths that might feel too raw to share verbally. Tom had always been the peacemaker, but something about this idea felt different. Could it be a stepping stone toward deeper engagement? "I love it," she replied, buoyed by the thought that they could set aside preconceived notions and start anew. "But we'll need to commit to reading those letters aloud. Hiding behind paper won't help if we're not willing to be vulnerable." Rebecca shifted, a look of uncertainty shadowing her face. Reading feelings aloud? That seems a bit too intense. Mary recognized the discomfort swimming in Rebecca's eyes, recalling her own resistance to emotional expression not long ago. "I get that it's intimidating," Mary replied gently, "but the only way to mend our family's fabric is to be honest about our fibers. It's okay to be scared. I am too, but we must do this for Lily's sake." Tom nodded in agreement, an encouraging smile illuminating his face. "Exactly. It's about creating bonds, right? If we don't model these open emotions for Lily, how can we expect her to learn?" As Mary watched Rebecca's defensiveness thaw into contemplation, she sensed a shift within her. Maybe they could learn, together, that vulnerability was not a weakness, but a conduit for strength and connection. "Let's give it a shot," she proposed, her pulse racing. The warmth of acceptance wrapped around her like a familiar blanket, but beneath it lay the creeping anxiety about being held accountable. What if they stumbled? What if Rebecca reverted to her habitual avoidance? That night, as Mary prepared for bed, her mind swirled with uncertainty and tenacity. She toiled over what she might write in her letter. What hopes did she harbor for Lily? Beyond academic achievements and social bravado, what did she want her granddaughter to feel? About herself, about their family, her place in the world. Mary recalled her own childhood revolved around performative measures. Accomplishments weighed against expectations rather than love. As she lay in bed, insomnia nested in her mind. How had she allowed this cycle to perpetuate? The next morning, as the sun cast its soothing rays, Mary paced the kitchen, grappling with the intricacies of her emotions. She wanted to break away from the suffocating patterns of the past, yet doubt lingered like an unwelcome guest. Would sharing her vulnerabilities truly foster understanding, or would it unravel deeper rifts? Determination reigned as she pulled out a notepad. With each word she penned, catharsis mingled with anxiety. She articulated her dreams for Lily, a life embraced with authenticity, devoid of the frills of facade. Each stroke of the pen was liberating, sculpting her desire for a legacy steeped in emotional truth. As she folded her letter, Mary felt the weight of her fears lightening, yet she questioned if she had the courage to share it openly. Her fingers danced over the paper, hesitant but resolved, poised to confront the ripple effects of her honesty. Just then, a soft knock interrupted her reverie. Tom entered, his eyes inquisitive. "Can I read your letter?" he asked, a blend of enthusiasm and timidity flashing across his features. Here was a moment of truth, an opportunity to open a door not just for herself, but for her son too. With a deep breath, she contemplated the communal realm of vulnerability they were headed toward. "Okay," she responded softly, knowing this was only the beginning and yet another risk. As Tom moved closer, Mary sensed the fork in their paths, one that prompted her to leap into the unknown or remain shackled to her uncertainties. And the choices confronting her pressed heavier than ever. Was she ready to endure the possible fallout of exposing her heart? Would this endeavor usher in genuine transformation, or would it deepen their divides? With each heartbeat, the stakes rose. Mary felt coiled with energy as the line between fear and possibility blurred. And as she began to share her innermost thoughts, an anticipation brewed in the space between them, hinting at revelations waiting to unfold. The moment crackled with suspense, priming both of them for transformations they had yet to fully understand. Would taking this leap of vulnerability ignite a change? Would the paper carry more than just her words, but forge a new legacy for Lily? Tom leaned forward, the warmth in his eyes urging Mary to release the tightly held weight of her thoughts. As she opened her mouth to begin, doubt flitted through her mind again. What if her words triggered something she couldn't control? But the moment felt pivotal, a chance to do more than merely exist within the confines of their strained family dynamics. "Okay, here goes," she said, trying to soften the tension with a shaky smile. "Dear Lily." The simple greeting brought forth a flood of memories, laughter, and sorrow. As she read her letter aloud, each phrase became a thread weaving into the fabric of their shared experiences. "I want you to know that you are enough just as you are. In the pursuit of greatness, please remember that love does not come with conditions." Her voice steadied as she continued, and Mary discovered strength in vulnerability. The act of articulating her truths felt like unearthing a buried treasure of hope. Tom listened intently, nodding in quiet affirmation. With each word, Mary sensed a gradual release of pent-up emotions, both from herself and from him. A wave of relief embraced her as she realized they were constructing a bridge instead of digging a chasm. When she concluded, silence hung heavily but comfortably between them, swaying gently like a pendulum. Tom let out a deep breath, an expression of appreciation edged across his face. "That was beautiful, Mom, really." Encouraged, Mary's heart raced with an unfamiliar exhilaration, a blend of apprehension and elation. "Your turn," she urged, now eager to reciprocate the connection she had initiated. Tom hesitated for only a moment, then took a deep breath and reached for his own letter. The page trembled slightly in his hands, but he didn't back down. "Dear Lily, I want you to know that emotions are necessary, even when they hurt. It's okay to feel lost sometimes. Just know that we're here for you. Always." His words flowed with an authenticity that struck Mary deeply. She had seen Tom's steadiness, but this glimpse into his emotional landscape was a revelation, raw, honest, and revealing a depth she had underestimated. As he finished reading, Mary could see the relief wash over him, too. They were diverging from the old script that bound them together out of obligation rather than trust. But something still lingered, unspoken, hovering in the air. The challenge ahead would be Rebecca and the dinner meeting they had braced for. Mary's gaze flickered to Tom, a question forming on her lips. What if Rebecca won't engage? What if she clings to her walls instead? Tom's brow furrowed slightly, the tension returning. We can't control her, but we can model this. If she sees us supporting each other, even through discomfort, it might encourage her to join in. The buoyancy they had found fluttered like butterflies in their chests. Mary pondered that. Would transparency spark a willingness in Rebecca to lean in? Or would it make her retreat further into her protective cocoon? It was a delicate gamble. Still, as Mary took stock of Tom's unwavering resolve, she felt emboldened. We can't fail to try, for Lily, for each other. We'll show her she's deserving of honesty, love, everything. With determination resurfacing, Mary folded her letter and placed it in her pocket. This wasn't just an exercise, it was a powerful seed they were planting. Yet, the intimacy of this moment was juxtaposed with the looming confrontation with Rebecca. The tension shifted, a new layer of doubt creeping in. Could Mary withstand potential rejection if her gestures of love were met with indifference? As they prepared for dinner, Mary's palms were clammy with anticipation and fear. She found solace in the shared vulnerability they had explored, which would serve as her armor. Yet, deep down, a seed of worry nestled in her psyche. Would any of it truly resonate, or were they simply cascading into conflict? The table set, Mary became lost in thought, weaving through the evolutions of her family's fabric, the frayed edges, the beautiful patterns, and the overwhelming struggle to piece it all together. As Tom's gentle voice snapped her back, asking her if she was ready, she nodded, though uncertainty flickered behind her composure. The evening promised to be pivotal, a potential turning point brimming with conflicting hopes. Mary steeled herself, every unspoken word on the tip of her tongue, a sense of profound risk hanging over all of them. And as she took that first step toward the kitchen where Rebecca awaited, the tension gnawed at her insides. Would love triumph in the face of resistance, or was she walking toward a confrontation that might unravel everything she sought to build? With her heart racing and the stakes at their highest, Mary felt the moment swell with uncharted possibility, knowing the next few exchanges could reshape their family's legacy forever. The kitchen was warm, the aroma of simmering spices blending with the tension that seemed to wrap around Mary like a heavy fog. As she stepped inside, her heart thumped violently, resonating with the silence that enveloped the room. Rebecca stood at the counter, her movements precise and almost mechanical as she stirred the pot, utterly absorbed in her task. "Hi, Rebecca," Mary ventured, her voice trembling slightly in the stillness. Rebecca turned, her expression unreadable. "Hey, Mom," she replied flatly, the flicker of warmth in her tone extinguished quickly. Mary felt a tight knot in her stomach. As she took a step further into the room, she registered the small details. The way Rebecca's hair fell messily around her shoulders, the faint shadows beneath her eyes. The sight sparked a flicker of hope in Mary's heart. Perhaps today, the emotional walls might begin to crumble. "Do you need any help?" Mary asked, trying to inject enthusiasm into her voice. "No, I've got it," Rebecca replied, not meeting her gaze. The words were clipped, concluding the exchange like a door slamming shut. Mary swallowed hard, battling the urge to withdraw and mask her disappointment. A bitter part of her mind questioned whether embarking on this daring path of vulnerability was worth it. Was she really prepared to expose herself further? Yet, as she glanced toward Tom, who stood just outside the kitchen entrance, an unyielding resolve sparked within her. "Rebecca," Mary began, her voice steadier now, fueled by an inner clarity. "I want you to know that I'm proud of you. I see how hard you work and how much you care." For a moment, the air felt charged. Rebecca paused, her face flickering, but quickly resumed her stirring, as if her movements would deny the emotion creeping into the space. "Mom, can you just not?" There was a weariness in her response, an echo of past conversations heavy with unspoken grievances. Mary inhaled slowly, resisting the urge to recoil. "I know this feels uncomfortable," she continued, her heart racing, as if the very act of speaking her truth was a battle against the familiar pull of defeat. Rebecca stiffened, her shoulders tightening defensively. "What's the point?" she snapped, frustration lacing her voice. "We've done this dance before. Nothing ever changes." Mary's mind raced, a strategical evaluation taking place against an inner backdrop of vulnerability. This wouldn't be an easy confrontation, but wasn't that what growth demanded? In this moment, she recognized the uncharted potential. It was time to distance herself from the past's repetitive patterns. "Maybe you're right," she said softly, almost as if testing the waters. "But maybe we can carve a different path together." The silence stretched, heavy with a question. Would Rebecca allow this moment of honesty to wash over her? Would she let Mary in, perhaps for the first time in years? Suddenly, Mary felt an overwhelming urge to stand her ground, her vulnerability shifting into determination. "I've been trying to find the words to show you I care, for you and for Lily. I wish to show you that love is not conditional." Rebecca's gaze finally met Mary's, eyes reflecting a tide of emotions that surged just beneath the surface. For a fleeting instant, a flicker of something unguarded sparkled within her. But before Mary could savor it, Rebecca's defenses sprang back into place. "So you wrote a letter. That's supposed to change everything?" she retorted coolly. Mary felt the weight of doubt beginning to well up again, but she quickly swallowed it down. "It's a start. It's not about the letter. It's about us. I want to try. That's all I can do." Tom stepped forward slightly, his presence lending an air of support, grounding Mary in the storm of thoughts swirling in her mind. She had initiated the connection, and the next step was entirely theirs to define. "Rebecca," Tom spoke, his voice calm but filled with sincerity. "We want you to know that we're here for you. This isn't just about saying words. It's about creating space, allowing each other to feel safe." For a breathless moment, Mary hung on to the hope igniting within her, intertwining deeper connections, braving the unknown territory of honesty and shared vulnerability. As uncertainty loomed overhead, a small but persistent flame lit her spirit, the unwavering prospect of breakthrough or collapse. Mary realized then the path ahead was still clouded, yet this was the moment where change thrummed through their family's collective heartbeat. She had to believe that whatever unfolded next was worth the leap. Yet, as the tension shifted once more, the lingering question hung heavily in the air. Would Rebecca take that leap of faith with them, or would they be left to grapple alone with the distance that still defined their relationship? Rebecca's silence loomed larger than the simmering pot, the ingredients swirling together but failing to match the tumult in the room. The once inviting smell of spices now felt heavy with unresolved emotions. Instead of waiting for an answer, Mary drew on her internal strength to confront the reality of the situation. Yet a tightness pulled at her stomach, a nagging fear that this moment could spiral into another round of misunderstandings. Would she show her daughter the love that had become buried under layers of resentment, or would Rebecca's walls remain unscalable? Steeling herself, Mary took a step closer. "It's okay to feel uncertain," she offered, her voice more assertive, echoing her newfound determination. "We're in a difficult place, and I'm not expecting any miraculous changes overnight. But we need to try. I need to try." Rebecca paused in her stirring, her back now a fortress. Mary noted the subtle movements of her daughter's muscles tensing, each stir of the ingredients reflecting an unwillingness to yield. Mary thought about her own journey and how she had learned that sometimes growth came not just from declarations, but also through actions. "Remember when you started piano lessons?" Mary ventured, keeping her tone gentle yet probing. "You wanted to quit often, and yet you pushed through each time. You've made beautiful music out of those struggles. This isn't too different." For a fleeting moment, a flicker of confusion crossed Rebecca's face, as if Mary had cracked a tiny opening in her armor. "That's different, Mom. Music doesn't have feelings." "Maybe," Mary replied, recognizing how closely Rebecca clung to cynicism. "But all growth takes vulnerability, doesn't it? You faced that challenge and you came out stronger. You can do the same here." The room filled with the dull noise of kitchen activity, but the emotional silence was deafening. Mary watched as Rebecca's fingers gripped the wooden spoon tighter, every slight tremor illustrating her conflict. They needed a breakthrough, yet the stubbornness hung in the air like a thick mist. Mary breathed deeply, attempting to keep her composure while reining in her growing frustration. In the midst of the struggle to connect with Rebecca, she considered her own path of self-discovery. Hadn't she been granted a second chance? This confrontation was her opportunity for not just reconnection, but genuine exploration of differences. "Rebecca," she continued, "I understand that you're angry, not just at me, but at the whole situation. I felt that anger too. But anger can consume us if we don't let it out somehow. We can find a way to talk about our hurt without making it worse. We can agree to disagree sometimes, can't we?" Rebecca finally turned to face her, the swirling emotions on her face hinting at vulnerability. "So we just talk? Like that will change anything?" "It's a start," answered Mary, italicizing the belief she desperately held onto. "I want to learn what hurts and what heals. I want us to go on this journey together." In that moment, Mary saw something begin to ripple beneath Rebecca's icy facade, a vulnerability that flickered like the flame of the stove, uncertain but alive. Just as quickly, it retreated. Maybe today wouldn't be the day of resolution, but it could lay a stone for future connections. "Do you want to be together or not?" Mary pressed, feeling a surge of resilience within her. She was ready to peel back more layers of long-held resentment. She needed to be open, even if it was terrifying. "A conversation isn't a league of comfort, Mom," Rebecca replied, her voice softer but no less defiant. "True," Mary acknowledged, "but it's a step toward reclaiming what mattered. Together, we can create meaning even amid discomfort." As the air thickened with unspoken words, Mary's resolve remained vivid. They would navigate this rocky terrain. Only time would show whether it would lead to a brighter horizon or another dead end. Just then, a subtle shift tugged at her. What if Rebecca saw this as an opportunity to express rather than retreat? That question hung heavily, and Mary dared to anticipate the prospect of emergence through the labyrinth of adversity. But the crucial question remained. Would Rebecca allow herself to transform this fear into a path instead of a precipice? A tense silence fell over the kitchen, punctuated only by the distant drip of water from the faucet, the singular sound in an otherwise still atmosphere. Mary felt the weight of expectation resting squarely on her shoulders. It was one thing to initiate dialogue, but entirely another to break through the invisible wall that stood between her and Rebecca. The more she thought about it, the more her pulse quickened. This was her moment. She could not allow fear to dictate the outcome. "Rebecca," she began, choosing her words with care, "I know you're hurting. It's okay to acknowledge that. It's okay to be angry. But please, don't shut me out. Let me be a part of this, your struggles, your feelings." Rebecca's grip loosened just a fraction, and Mary seized the opening. "I've been thinking a lot about how I can help you, about what you truly need, but I can't do that if you're not willing to share." Mary's voice wavered, reflecting a mix of vulnerability and determination. She was stepping into uncharted territory, and the risk was palpable. "I think you've been doing this alone for a long time. I can't change what's happened, but I want to support you in what comes next." Each word felt like a thread, weaving a fragile connection meant to anchor them both through the turbulent waters of their relationship. Rebecca turned again, her face still tight, but her expression a bit softer, a hint of uncertainty creeping in. "And what do you think that looks like, Mom? You think we can just fix this with a few words?" "I'm not suggesting it will be easy," Mary replied, her heart pounding, "but it's our first step. We've both been holding on to hurt for too long. What if we spoke openly, shared everything that's been bothering us?" A beat hung in the air, thick with the weight of possibility. Mary could feel her stomach nodding with hope and dread. Could they truly push the reset button on their relationship? A wave of memories flooded her, the echoes of laughter, shared meals, the feeling of being a family. Those times felt like lifetimes ago, submerged beneath a sea of misunderstandings and resentment. "Words don't mean anything if we don't act on them, you know," Rebecca finally said. Though her voice carried defiance, a flicker of curiosity glinted in her eyes. "I know," Mary conceded, "and that's where I'm willing to grow. You taught me that, remember? I've been a little like a stubborn cook, insisting on my own recipe instead of asking for your input. But this time, I want to hear yours." The corners of Rebecca's mouth turned upward, if only slightly. It seemed the tiniest crack in her fortress had allowed a glimmer of light. "Maybe it's time to try something new," Rebecca said, her voice softer now, reflecting a hesitation that could just as easily lead to progress or retreat. Mary stepped forward, a blend of excitement and caution flowing through her. "We can create a new recipe together, one that blends our flavors instead of forcing them apart." With that proclamation, she noticed the burden of tension begin to ease, a perceptible shift, almost like the first hint of spring after a long winter. In this shared moment, they were no longer just daughter and mother caught in a struggle. They were two people willing to explore all the ingredients necessary for healing. Just as fervor began to swell in her chest, a sudden sound interrupted them, knocking the air from Mary's lungs. The phone buzzed on the countertop, and she glanced at the screen. A message from her sister flashed before her eyes. "We need to talk about Dad. It's important." Mary's heart sank, ice enveloping her warmth. She had just begun to navigate this fragile connection with Rebecca, discovering the potential for growth and understanding. But the looming reality of family dynamics, the past they had both avoided, threatened to intrude. Would she be able to balance the delicate petals of new growth with the thorns of family legacy crashing into her plans? The question reverberated as her resolve buckled under unexpected strain. "Mom?" Rebecca's voice pulled her back, but Mary was already contemplating the confrontation ahead. The thought of addressing it would be a monumental test of her courage. "Let's talk about it," Mary said, unsure of how deep the scars ran beneath the surface and what their shared journey now truly entailed. The early morning sun streamed through the window, casting bars of light that crisscrossed over the kitchen's worn table. Mary stood frozen, eyes flickering between the glowing phone and Rebecca, who was waiting with a mix of impatience and concern. The news from her sister was a storm brewing on the horizon, a potential derailment of the delicate progress she had just begun to foster with her daughter. "Mom, are you okay?" Rebecca's voice sliced through the uncertainty, steadying Mary's racing thoughts. She realized that this moment, the tense air charged with unsaid words, demanded clarity. I need to think," Mary murmured, more to herself, grappling with the implications. Her sister wanted to confront their father, and by extension, the burden of their past decisions weighed heavily on her heart. The distraction felt suffocating. "What about?" Rebecca pressed. The urgency in her tone prompted Mary to sit down, the chair creaking under her weight as she faced her daughter. Mary took a slow breath, launching into the complexity of emotions swirling within her. "It's about our family, your grandfather. Your aunt believes he needs to be held accountable for some things, and it might not be easy to talk about." Rebecca's brow furrowed in confusion. "Is this another argument? Can't we just focus on learning how to communicate better between us before diving back into the deep end?" Mary felt the sting of truth in Rebecca's words. She risked reopening wounds not yet healed, but she couldn't back down. "It's different," she replied softly. "This isn't just about us anymore. I couldn't bear to watch you and your sister endure what we did, feeling powerless to change it. It's important for you to know everything, as painful as it might be." "Why now?" Rebecca shot back, frustration bubbling at the surface. "Why when we're finally starting to talk about us?" "Because unresolved pasts can create shadows over our present," Mary explained, feeling the familiar weight of rationalization. For years, she had compartmentalized her father's decisions, but avoiding the truth had only chained her to the past. "It's about breaking free. I need to show you that sometimes facing hurt is part of growth." Rebecca's shoulders tensed, her vulnerability rearing its head again. "But what if it just makes everything worse? What if we get caught in another cycle of hurt?" The tremor in Rebecca's voice forced Mary to confront the possibility that the leap she was taking might not yield the resolution she hoped for. "All I ask is that we do this together. You don't have to carry the burden alone anymore. Understand that I am willing to change, to fight for our relationship." Rebecca's gaze dropped to the table, her fingers tracing the wood grain like lines on a map, looking for a route through their shared history. Maybe that's what scares me, diving back into a family that feels so broken. What if it's beyond repair? A knot tightened in Mary's throat. She recognized the fear mirrored in her own heart. They both stood on the precipice of something profound, but the unknown loomed like an ominous cloud overshadowing newfound hope. "We can't know unless we try," she said, her voice stronger now, carrying the weight of conviction. With a shared nod, an unspoken agreement forged anew, they held on to the thin thread of hope. The challenge lay ahead, facing their past while nurturing the beginning of a healing relationship. A sudden ringing broke through the tension, jolting them both. Rebecca's phone lit up, displaying her best friend's name. It was the distraction they hadn't realized they needed. "I better take this," Rebecca said, a note of relief in her tone. As she stepped away, Mary allowed herself a moment to reflect on the waves of uncertainty crashing against her heart. There was still so much to confront. The path before them remained fraught with risks, but perhaps together they could navigate through the jagged rocks of truth. She glanced at the table, where their unfinished conversation still lingered, like a recipe waiting to be written. Yet, as she observed Rebecca laughing in her distant corner of the room, Mary realized her greatest hurdle lay not in the past, but instead in finding the courage to approach the future, the next family gathering, the next confrontation with their father. The stakes were high, but she stood ready to face the inevitable storm. What might emerge when they finally confronted the truth about their father? And how would that alter the fragile bond they were beginning to weave? The question hung in the air, a silent promise of the challenges that awaited them. As resolve settled in her heart, Mary prepared for the journey ahead, where old wounds would undoubtedly confront their newfound resolve. Days melted into weeks after the initial confrontation, and for Mary, the journey toward reconnection with Rebecca felt like a mix of arduous labor and hopeful anticipation. The family dynamic shifted slightly, and as they navigated their new openness, lingering shadows of the past beckoned for resolution. With every family dinner, laughter echoed in the corners of their home, a tentative rhythm they danced around, but still precarious, yet more joyful than they'd known in years. Mary made a dedicated effort to invite Rebecca into her world, suggesting weekly walks or time spent together in the garden. Slowly, the two began to rebuild trust. Conversations cascaded from confessions to shared interests, blossoming into vulnerable exchanges tinged with laughter. It was liberating for both. It unveiled layers of their identities long buried under misunderstanding, and Mary reveled in every victorious moment. But looming above them was the unresolved issue with their father. Mary felt the weight of the conversation with her sister still pressing heavily on her heart, a nagging thread that needed to be addressed. Each day brought her closer to the point of confrontation, rippling into everything she was cultivating with Rebecca. Fostering their new bond would crumble under the weight of old unanswered grievances, and Mary recognized that facing their parental legacy was an integral part of her personal growth. One crisp Saturday morning, the sun hung low, casting a soft glow through the kitchen window as Mary prepared breakfast. Rebecca meandered in, still wrapped in her cozy robe, hair disheveled, yet her eyes sparkled with the innocence of a Saturday morning. "What's on the agenda today?" she asked, leaning against the kitchen counter, brimming with curiosity. Mary paused, contemplating how to broach the subject that had burdened her for so long. "I've been thinking, maybe it's time we talk about Grandpa," she said cautiously, heart racing but resolute. "I know this is difficult, but we need to find a way to address the past together. What do you think?" Rebecca's features hardened slightly, youthful tension sparking momentarily before she could mask it with indifference. "Is now really the time? Everything is going so well between us," she argued, her voice steady but eyes betraying vulnerability. Mary leaned in, drawing strength from their recent transformations. "I honestly believe that if we're going to move forward, we must also confront what holds us back. By ignoring it, we're allowing it to linger as an unhealed scar. I want us to be fully open, to step into the light, not just with each other, but within this family as well." Heavy silence enveloped them, charged yet tentative. It felt like standing at the precipice of both hope and fear. Finally, Rebecca's shoulders relaxed. "Okay, but how do we start?" Mary took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "Let's both write down what we feel, our own experiences, our fears, whatever comes to mind. We'll read them together, share the truths we hesitated to voice for so long." Rebecca appeared contemplative but nodded, a spark of resolve igniting behind her gaze. Together, they began to craft their letters, a physical representation of their transformative journey. They penned their thoughts honestly, articulating their pain, their anger, but also their desire for healing. The toil was heavy yet cathartic, pulling them closer as they peeled back layers of hurt and confusion. When the day of reading arrived, Mary felt her heart pulsing in rhythm with her anticipation and anxiety. Sitting across from Rebecca, the kitchen table felt like an altar for both revelation and healing. They took turns reading their letters, each word flowing like a river of vulnerability, threads intertwining, building bridges across the chasms that had once defined their interactions. After she finished reading, Mary looked up to find tears glistening in Rebecca's eyes. "I never imagined I'd harbor these feelings for so long," she admitted softly. Embraced by the warmth of forgiveness and understanding, Mary smiled. "This is only the beginning. It's about acknowledging what has been and consciously choosing to move forward side by side." That evening felt different. Together, they crafted a new family narrative based on authenticity and vulnerability, revisiting their shared history not just as victims, but as survivors willing to redefine their legacy. As the holiday season approached, Mary stood before the family. That once tumultuous gathering transformed into a harmonious haven of unity and empathy. It occurred to her how they had successfully cultivated the spirit of togetherness. She ventured to revisit her own wounds, recalling the profound shift she'd made. She no longer felt like a bystander to her life, but a decisive actor who had claimed agency over her choices. Finally, the moment came to reach out to her father. Surrounded by those she cherished most, Mary sat down with a deep breath and sent a message to her sister about organizing a confrontation, a difficult task to unravel their familial history while standing firmly as the woman she had become. It was time to reclaim not just her daughter's future, but to ensure their family was woven from a fabric of love, acceptance, and emotional truth. Emboldened and confident, Mary realized she had transformed, achieving something tangible, an irreplaceable intimacy that was once a distant thought. In reclaiming her voice, she had remade her family into one where authenticity reigned, where every member could thrive despite their differences. She appreciated her newfound purpose. She was ready to clear away the remnants of shadows cast by the past, proving that through honesty and courage, they could flourish together. The warmth wrapped around them like a blanket, and Mary felt a sense of fulfilled achievement. She had conquered the ghosts of her past, realigned their collective future, and in doing so, had demonstrated that true connection could erupt from the most unexpected of circumstances. Now, as they gathered around the holiday table, the laughter mingling with the warmth of the season, Mary surveyed her family, vibrant, full of possibilities. They were no longer just bound by blood. They were stitched together by a thread of honesty and healing, fully embracing their shared legacy. This was the life she had envisioned, the one she had fought for, and now she could rest in the knowledge that her voice mattered. Truly, it mattered. Each of them had discovered their roles in the ongoing narrative of their family, and Mary, basking in this profound fulfillment, knew she was both the architect and the guardian of their newly forged bonds. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It makes a difference and helps other souls find their way to these transformative tales. Comment your reactions and theories about how the characters can continue to grow from this moment. And finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Let's spread understanding and healing.